Sorry about that. I got interrupted with a call, but but yeah, um, it's just craziness, like how all that stuff is. Yeah, like 2017, I kind of noticed like a big shift in where like stores really weren't carrying a whole lot. Like I mean, Toys R Us was still around at that time, and even they weren't carrying a whole lot. Um, uh, um, yeah, it's just I'm kind of lost because like just thinking of all the craziness that was going around back then with all of that. Um, so like then 2018 came along, and then I got into Fison, and I thought Fison was really really good. The fact that they had like a stainless steel skeleton with like realistic silicone skin, I thought was just like something that just wasn't very normal in the toy industry, but it was just cool. And like there was like definitely like a model like, or not a model but like a maquette quality to these things. Like when you see guys with like, those statues and stuff that are just excellently there, that's what a lot of this was. But they were actually figures. You could take them and then you could move them around and you could pose them and stuff like that. And like they were tough too. Like they honestly, Fison is what got me into Masters of the Universe. If it hadn't been for Fison, then I wouldn't have gotten into a Masters of the Universe, because Fison reminded me a lot of Masters of when I started doing more of a deep dive into Masters of the Universe. That's when I noticed a huge similarity between Fison and Masters of the Universe. And I mean, I got a ton of Masters of the Universe classics. I got some Masterverse, and then I got a lot of Origins as well. So, but I mean, there was that. There was there was there was a lot of cool stuff. Um, and a good chunk of my Fison collecting was in I want to say 2018, 2019, and then 2020. And 2021, I still collected a little bit of it, but not as much. 2022 is really kind of when I stopped. And I got one in 2003, but it was just a 112 scale one. And the thing about 112 with Fison, since it's a foreign scale, they don't scale how America does with like Mattel or McFarlane or with NECA or with Loose Collector or like or Valaverse or like GI Joe Classified or Marvel Legends or anything like that. They actually are like a much smaller scale, and like it's not even just with height; it's also with proportions. Like they got tiny hands, tiny heads, tiny feet. So, I mean, like it's really hard to put somebody that small in with like a figure that's like so much larger than it, and I mean like a lot larger. I mean, both in height and also just with proportions. So I didn't get too much into their 112 line, but I really got into their 1/6 line. And then I kind of uh, got into Mondo a bit. Um, Here, let me show you a cool Mondo figure I have. This is a Mondo. I kind of got these 1/6 uh, um, uh, Masters of the Universe figures because of Fison. Here's another cool Fison I have. This is the steampunk version of Red Sonja. That over there, that's a statue of this would probably be considered 1/62, but She just doesn't have any legs, so that's why she's not the height. But the proportions are pretty much all there. If not, maybe slightly smaller. But that's actually Druna. Um, and that's like one of the few um, uh, statues that I have is the Day of the Dead um, uh, Lady Death. So I got that in 2020 as well. But I got a really sweet deal on this statue though. It's super rare, and I got it on eBay for only like $40. Nowadays, your average Marvel Legends pretty much costs $40. So, um, so yeah, I mean uh, like 2022 rolls around, and at this point, Loose Collector's putting out more stuff. A lot of things are putting out more stuff. 2023 is when I finally got into Classified. Classified, I did buy like the first version of Scarlet, and but um, but like I wasn't impressed with it, so I didn't really I I didn't get into Classified until about like way later. Pretty much was the fall of 2023 is when I got into it, and or what? No, it wasn't even that. It was actually the fall of 2022 that I got into Classified, and uh, and just so far I've gotten pretty hooked on the line. I mean, with me, it's like really fun to pose guns with those figures, and there's not very many figures out there being made today that can actually hold guns all that well, other than like Classified. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with collecting right now. My favorite lines to collect right now are probably Classified, and uh, and uh, Loose Collector. So if you're wondering if I have a collection of those things, hell yeah. This is probably my favorite Loose Collector figure is the Loose Collector Vampirella. I got both versions. I got this version and I got the black suit version, but I'm a huge fan of Vampirella. Um, anyone who knows me in person would tell you. So, but with here's my classified some of my classified stuff. I did get the Hiss tank, and there's another Loose Collector figure, and there's some classics and stuff too. So, but yeah, that's kind of my thing, and that's sort of where I'm seeing the the whole toy collecting thing at. I'll just be flat out honest. I don't really like the toy collecting community. I think there's a lot of weird like polarization in it, and it's kind of sucking the fun out of toy collecting. So I think I'm gonna stay clear of the toy collecting community. I try to get involved and try to sort of do stuff with them, but like I'm just like this is boring. So so yeah, um, that's my Great Adventure Fisher Price collection right there. I only get the Knights and the Pirate guys, but that's what I grew up with was the Great Adventure Fisher Price stuff when I was real little. And I don't know of anyone else who talks about those figures. There's only one guy. His name's Thomas. I don't really know his channel, so I can't really give him a shout out. But like I don't hear about anybody going to like great detail other than him about these. So but to me, like, it's just kind of weird to see where it's going. Like going to like comic shops and going to like different niche toy and antique stores. That used to be a thing, but like now with like the prices that it is, and just people being greedy and just not really wanting to go out and deal with people, it seems like that stuff is sort of becoming a thing of the past. Like with me, it's almost like I gotta wait to go to like toy shows or wait to go out of town to go do that stuff anymore. Like it's just the weirdest feeling ever. So, and I don't know what's going to become of it. I think eventually they're going to probably just make it subscription based. I mean, they're pretty much already trying to make it subscription based with all the HasLabs and the Mattel creations and stuff like that. And another reason why I just don't like the community too much is because the community either tear that shit down or they prop it up way higher than it needs to be. You know? Like, dude, people just don't have the money to pay for this shit anymore. Like they just don't, you know? And the other thing too is like some of the quality in these toys is really lacking. Like some of the quality control and stuff like that, and just all that other stuff. It's like, you think that they would make more durable figures, but they just don't. These things like break sometimes within like days of having them, you know? So, I mean, that's why I got out of NECA, was because the damn things were breaking too much. Like my Predators were always kind of sturdy, but like the issue I had with Predators was like so many of them couldn't stand. Like and with the Alien figures, so much of those couldn't even stand either, you know. And yeah, like I'll go ahead and glue my figures back together, but like I've done this for so long that I've noticed when like a certain figure is gone at a point of trying to glue it back together, you know. And plus like even if you do glue it back together, you're still kind of left with that notion of like, this figure's basically broken anyways. So, you know, I mean, it is what it is. But like it's kind of sad to see the state of collecting and just the state of the toy industry and just the state of everything. You know, everything's just seems to just be like, everything's just so oversaturated too. Like there's people that only want Turtles. There's people that only want G.I. Joe Classified, you know, and like that's great and all, but like there's so much other properties than those two things. There's people that only want Star Wars, you know, and there's so much more life than Star Wars, you know, yeah, but that's enough of my rambling. So those are my thoughts on the toy industry and where I think it's at. So,